Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. You're gonna have to pardon my appearance. I've been in the warehouse working hard all day here and I'm looking ashy as all hell probably. And I just wanted to talk about the video that I just released that seems like half of people are not able to watch it. Some people are able to watch it, most are not. Now, in my 7 or 8 years now, 9 years I think it is actually, of making YouTube videos, I've never experienced an upload like this where there was so much weirdness going on in the uploading, the processing, and the algorithmic checking of the video. So I'm not sure what is going on. Has there been a change in the matrix? I don't know. I'm going to chalk it up to some sort of processing error with the video. The video seemed to cut normally, like most of my videos seem to, without any rendering issues. So I don't think it was that. The video wasn't really dealing with anything that I think was politically risque, but then again, what I think is risque sometimes is very risque. And some of the things that I think are a little too edgy aren't edgy at all. So it's hard to say. Now, there's some solutions. If you're trying to watch that video that we released earlier today, what did I title it? Something, it's hitting the fan, total chaos or something like that. Some people have said that they can watch it on TV, on some sort of YouTube, the YouTube app on the television set. I just dated myself, didn't I? You could also perhaps try the incognito mode. You could try a different browser. You could try refreshing 50,000 times. For whatever reason, that video was suspiciously hard to upload and it's suspiciously hard to play, even on my end. So I'm not sure what it is. If you're not able to watch it at all, I guess I can give you the gist of it. Well, no, I can't, because there was like 30 different stories that I discussed in the video. Essentially, the crap is hitting the fan. Okay, if you didn't know that already. There's some hacks that on the Russian Defense Ministry's website that basically alerted people to prepare for a retaliatory nuclear strike from NATO. And Russia is claiming that this was just a hack of their website. But some people, myself included, in fact, I'm the only person that suspects this so far, although I'm sure that other people have this suspicion as well, is that perhaps this was something that was leaked prematurely. Perhaps this is a emergency broadcast system glitch of sorts, where Russia was notifying its citizens of an impending nuclear scenario that they needed to prepare for, just priming the population for that possibility. We're hearing all sorts of talks about WMDs being deployed by both sides. The Russians are claiming that the Americans are trying to create a false flag. This is from the Russians, this is not from me. And of course, the US is saying, no, the Russians are actually planning on deploying this stuff. Personally, I don't know what to believe anymore. All I know is that the time to prepare is now, because this situation does not seem to be de-intensifying. We have Macron, who appears is going to be elected as the president in France. Is it president or prime minister? I'm not sure what they have there. I'm sure 1,000 people will let us know in the comment sections below. And that, of course, doesn't bode well for this whole situation. The thought was that if Le Pen was elected, who was his opposition, then she might be a bit less hawkish on the Russian war front. Appears now that we're going to see more of the same, and but potential escalations there as well with respect to France's involvement with NATO and the shipping of weapons to Ukraine. So it looks like this thing is going to intensify. Peace talks have broken down. There's lots of fires within Russia recently, more than just the chemical plant and the aerospace plant, but there was another one that I talked about in that video. I can't remember exactly what institution it was, but another fire has broken out. So I'm guessing that has to be sabotage. There's also the FBI warning about cyber attacks on the food industry, talking about ransomware attacks. However, we have seen reportedly some coincidental increased level of fires in these different food manufacturing plants across the US. Is it cyber attack? Is it even that much out of the ordinary at all? I don't know. I haven't really looked at all the statistics. We don't want to jump to the gun and assume that it is significant. We'll, take a look at it type thing. But it's important that we don't chase red herrings either, because regardless of what happens with that scenario, we are pretty much screwed on the food front for the foreseeable future, which is why I always encourage people, whenever you can, put a little bit more food away, because it's likely going to be more expensive tomorrow. And at this point in the game, the best way to preserve your wealth is to invest in various commodities. Obviously, if you were, depending on what your ethical position is on this, you could invest in military industrial complex stocks, because those are clearly going to go through the roof now that the U.S. has depleted some of its, or in the process of depleting some of its arsenal that would be deployed to the front lines. What else did we talk about in that video? We talked also about, somebody's scoping me out here. Always got to watch my six. We also talked about how that Ukraine is the cream of the crop when it comes to NATO's military capability. Everything is being deployed and tested there. The most seasoned soldiers are there. A lot of these other countries that are part of NATO, with the exception, of course, of the United States, don't have combat experience in recent wars to any significant extent. So, and this is the irony of people believing that the Russians should have steamrolled through the Ukraine, because had that have been true, then what would that say for the rest of Europe, whose army is considerably weaker? Okay, Ukraine has more tanks, they had more heavy equipment, they had more experience. So this doesn't bode well for the Baltic states as well, in terms of their capabilities, which is why they're basically given everything they can to Ukraine right now to prevent the Russian onslaught from continuing. We also talked in that video about how Russia was seizing many different weapons around Kharkov, where the Chilean journalist has been basically taken captive and is not allowed to leave the city. They seized a massive amount of weapons, guys, like a huge amount of weapons. There's also claims that they have targeted places in Odessa and Lviv, weapons shipments from the Western countries. So everyone's talking about how this is going to bankrupt Russia, but it's starting to look like this could potentially drain Europe as well. And of course, with the potential now for a unified front, maybe I'm hungry, I'm not sure. It's been a long day. On the unified front with NATO, this means that there's a possibility that they're going to try to get off of Russian natural gas this year. There's talks that 4 in 10 Britons is going to be in gas poverty this winter. So we encourage people, especially our European friends, to prepare for next winter, because this is when it could get really, really bad. I think this is going to be the equivalent of winter 2020, what the pandemic did to that. I think the winter is going to be that bad because we're going to see a massive decoupling of energy between Russia and the West. What else did we talk about? There was the Russian space, the head of the space program there, the minister, I'm not sure what title he goes by, talking about and issuing threats, basically, that for some reason that there's something going on in space and I can't quite figure it out. But they had basically warned NATO that any attempt to undermine their space program or shoot down satellites would be considered an act of war. There's talk now that the Russians want to get off the GPS systems, that they cannot rely on it in case the United States cuts them off, or who knows, maybe they'll even, maybe a method of warfare will be to send them incorrect information or something like that. So the Russians actually have their own GPS equivalent called GLONASS, which is an acronym, and I don't know if it's as good. I'm guessing it isn't as good as GPS. There's 24 plus satellites that comprise this network that create some level of geopositioning, global positioning, but it's not going to be as good. So there's a lot of talk of space. And remember when this whole thing kicked off, guys, back about 3 or 4 months ago, when the Russians had shot down one of their own satellites, and this created a lot of alarm. Now, this is something that the US has done before, something that China has done before. We all have the capability to do this, those three aforementioned countries. But that was really kind of kicked this off, and it seemed very suspicious at the time. It was a sign that tensions were ratcheting up because they didn't warn the space station in spite of having their own astronauts up there. Okay, so that's how they roll, I guess. And what else did we talk about? We talked about a lot of things in that video. We talked about the Taiwanese situation where they had accidentally, in the very same manner as what happened in Russia recently, they had broadcast information about that there was going to be an attack, that the Chinese were attacking, and it was supposedly an accident. They're claiming that it was an accident, that it was just a training video, but a lot of people are saying that no, this is the preset propaganda which is going to be played when the shizzy hits the fizzy. So the nations of the world are preparing, okay? They already have the media campaigns and the propaganda campaigns lined up for when we go to war. And don't think that the situation is going to be any different here. I'm going to presume that our emergency broadcast system is going to be replete with all sorts of state-of-the-art information campaigns to minimize panic and to advise people as to what is going on or what we need to know. Because we know clearly from the Ukrainian situation, which were our classic puppet government, if you will, I'm just going to outright say it, of NATO. Clearly, they're very heavily influenced by NATO. And what they're doing is what we would do. And what they did was they avoided telling their people, and they admit to this. They admit to this recently. The spokesperson for the Zelensky government had came out and said that the reason why we didn't tell people that the Russians were going to invade is because it would have created gridlock and we would not have been able to resist militarily. I can understand that from a militaristic standpoint, but what that means is that basically they did not tell their population the truth, the noble lie. We need to understand that the noble lie will be used against us. It will be used against us, okay? And we don't know what form that's going to take. And I'm not saying that everything that the government would advise us to do is not something we should do. I'm just saying that that is something to bear in mind, that we're likely not going to get the total and complete truth when it comes to what is going on in a crisis. Because, as was proven in that situation, cut and dry, it doesn't get any more true than that. And yet there's still going to be 90% of people that are turning on the TV waiting for direction. And again, I need to be careful with what I say because I don't want to advise people to do anything which would run counter to the proper authorities. But we all know if that is any example, which it is, which I personally think it is, it's like exactly what's going to happen here, okay, when it all goes down. We need to be mindful of that fact that we are on our own, that we are going to have to try to the best of our ability, understand what is happening and act accordingly, plan accordingly. And for this reason, I am not at all confident that if this situation was intensifying, that we would be told. I'm pretty sure that we will be told that it's going to be fine right until the bitter end. This doesn't mean I lose sleep and I'm paranoid and I spend 23 hours of the day, worried about World War III. No, me and my kids just had a game of laser tag here in the warehouse. Okay, like we still live our lives, we still try to have fun and enjoy ourselves, but we also need to be smart about this. We need to be smart about this. So that was kind of about 50% of that video. I would encourage you to go and watch it. We're still struggling trying to get our other video that we made a few weeks ago unrestricted, and that was the 3 factors that are causing the collapse of civilization. For some reason, that was one of the best videos I think we've made in the last 6 months to a year, and it continues to be restricted even though I removed this segment that Google had requested that I remove because there was a short segment in there that was, I don't know, it was a violent scene or whatever, according to them. And even though I don't think it was any different from a lot of the, gangster rap videos that are released nowadays, and much more tame and much more educational, but it is what it is. We removed it. We've been waiting for weeks. They still haven't responded. In fact, they came back and said, no, we reject your appeal. And so I re-appealed it again, provided a bit of context for it all, and but still nothing. So go and watch that video too. Go and watch the video with Atlas Survival Shelters, where he's talking about all the billionaires that he's been meeting lately who are scrambling to do whatever they can to build bunkers. The reason why, God only knows. Anyways, guys, take care. Thanks again, and try watching the video on the TV. There was a supercut at the beginning of various news stories, so it was one of those videos where it's not just me ranting in the car. We put a bit more work into some of those videos. And go check out our more recent Blue Strip videos. Like we released a video yesterday about drones and their utility in an SHTF situation. Go and check it out. And a lot of people have been saying, we're not making as much actionable content, but we actually are. It's just that we're releasing so many more of these daily update videos, some days 2 videos a day, that by comparison it seems less, but we've released probably about 10 Blue Strip videos in the last month. So they're all there for you guys to see, from everything talking about, how to deliver a baby after SHTF, to different types of survival gear, interviews with various people. Anyways, guys, go check them out. Thanks for watching, and I hope that we don't have a problem with this video when we upload it, but let's see. Take care, guys. Stay safe.